Hi guys, this is gsn.com and I'm here with the Xiaomi Redmi Note 7 for a full review. I know this is not exactly a spring chicken since it's been available for quite some time. It was launched in January, but better late than never, right? So we're dealing with one of the most affordable mid-range phones from 2019. It's no coincidence we recently tested the Xiaomi Mi A3 and we wanted to see how it can stand against this one and this one against it, even though it has a dual camera, not a triple camera. So the price tag should be around $200 right now, if not even less. After all, it's the Xiaomi Redmi Note 7, not the regular Redmi 7. So let's start a review of the device here at gsn.com. Obviously, I'm going to start with the design. The phone measures 8.1 millimeters in thickness and has a facade covered in glass, the backside also glass. We have here the black version, but there are also other colors out there like blue, gold or white. Somehow it feels heavier than it should at 186 grams for a 6.3 incher. It's got the discrete notch here, it's got glass at the front with a pretty big chin, and the glass at the back may draw some smudges and fingerprints, especially in the black version. A pretty solid build even though the frame is made of plastic. And actually a pretty nice grip in my hand, and also pretty wieldy even with a single hand. So as far as ergonomics go, it's pretty nice, but aesthetics, it's a bit boring. It's a bit of more of the same, similar to the Huawei P20 Lite and let's say the Huawei Honor 8 and generic phones out there. Now we move on to the screen. It's an IPS LCD 6.3 inch Full HD Plus. It's got big bezels and we're here to show you the viewing experience using this sample we took with the Xperia 1. It was a beautiful sample. We worked on it using the dedicated application and the result is a bit of a work of art, but we're here to analyze the screen, not our work. So I would have to say that the colors are pretty decently calibrated but not very accurate. I feel that the image is a bit too white for my taste. The brightness is medium, the contrast was decent in full sunlight and the view angles are pretty wide. Some wasted space here and there, as you can see. Bezels could have been smaller. Now the pixel arrangement is of the RGB straps variety, typical for an IPS LCD. And then let's see what we got here, because we did more tests and brightness was one of them. Okay, so when it comes to the brightness, I'm a bit underwhelmed by the fact we achieved a mere 372 lux units, which is below the 200th place phone in all of our tests. It may beat the Huawei P20 Lite and Mate 20 Lite, but it's no match for any of the Samsung Galaxy A's from 2019 that we tested. And in the settings for the screen you can find the reading mode, brightness, contrast, colors, and you can tweak the colors. Actually, let me show you. So you're going to go here, got the reading mode, you got contrast and colors, default, warm or cool, automatic, increased or standard for the contrast, and text size, as well as a dark mode. Overall, a pretty underwhelming screen in brightness, and the colors could have been better calibrated, but in the end, for the price you're paying, there had to be sacrifices. Now, if you want to talk about the hardware, obviously I'm going to refer to the CPU, which, to be honest, feels a bit dated. Qualcomm Snapdragon 660, we saw it on the Nokia 7 Plus, it's been a while. The phone comes with 3, 4 or 6 GB of RAM and also with 32, 64 or 128 GB of storage plus microSD. I wouldn't call the interface fluid. I mean, I didn't encounter any trace of lag, but after having seen quite a few other iterations of Android, I have to say that, well, could have been just a tad faster. Once again, not lag per se, but I've seen faster interfaces. Even though I have to mention it can run PUBG mobile, it can run Asphalt 9 with ease. Not going to focus and insist on benchmarks too much. This is our database and this is on 227, where we beat the Huawei Mate 20 Lite and the Xiaomi Mi A2, and we also scored, let's see which phones we scored below. We scored below the Galaxy A9 2018 and the Xiaomi Mi A3. In general, the idea is this: we're very close to the Samsung Galaxy A50 and we're beating the Huawei Mate 20 Lite in most benchmarks. And of course, we also did Geekbench 4, where we beat the Zenfone 5 and the Mi A2, and this Redmi scored just below the Motorola Moto G7 Plus. So there you have it, typical mid-range behavior. Now, if you want to talk about the temperature, that's another aspect which we measured here. So this is the temperature achieved. 32.8 degrees Celsius was achieved when playing the game Riptide GP Renegade, and it's quite a low temperature, so it's a cool phone even under duress, under intensive tasks. Obviously, Xiaomi has been offering us big batteries on its big phones for a while now. 4000 mAh battery here, and let's see what that produces in real time. So once again, we go to our sister site and we see the results achieved in the battery test. Okay, so when it comes to the video playback, I would say it's fine, but I've seen better nowadays. So it's 11 hours and 29 minutes when it comes to video playback. Now, with this value of 11 hours and 29 minutes, we're actually below the Xiaomi Mi A3 by quite a bit. That one goes sky high to 17 hours, and we're also below the Nokia 5.1 Plus. But at least, remember this, we are beating the Huawei P30 Lite and also the Nokia 8.1, which is no small feat, let's face it. When it comes to continuous usage, we have a satisfying 10 hours and 16 minutes. You can see here which model we're beating: Xperia 1, the flagship for example, Motorola One Action, Nokia 8.1 and the Galaxy A40, still below the Galaxy A50 and the Xiaomi Mi A3 by 4 hours. When it comes to charging, quite long, 2 hours and 13 minutes, about the same as the Zenfone 6. And there are also some settings for the optimization of the battery and adaptive battery. So overall, a pretty okay battery for the price tag, but nowhere near the crazy good values of the Xiaomi Mi A3. When it comes to acoustics, things are pretty simple. As usual, we seem to have two grills. This is decorative, this is the actual one, and you're not going to cover it in landscape mode. Now, the actual listening experience was loud, clear, we have a medium bass, the body doesn't vibrate, there's no distortion, and a pretty okay experience. A very nice output towards headphones, that's what I noticed. They didn't bundle headphones with the phone, but when you're connecting them via the audio jack here, you're going to be pretty happy with the output. And this is what we achieved with the decibel meter, 85.8 decibels, beating the Asus Zenfone 6 and the Huawei Mate 20 Lite in the acoustic sample test. When it comes to gaming, it's actually, I would say, it's almost too loud, 102.3 decibels. This is achieved during Riptide GP Renegade, basically can be Mortal Kombat, PUBG, whatever. Keep it at 70% volume or 50% and you'll be more than happy with it. It can actually make our top 15 or top 10 with that value. We're done with the acoustics. For a singular speaker, I would say it's quite fine. And then we move on to the camera. So definitely a pretty interesting combo for this price tag. There is the LED flash and there is a 48 megapixel camera for the main sensor combined with a 5 megapixel camera for the bokeh. Don't get your hopes up. It's not the 48 megapixel one from the Xiaomi Mi A3. That one is made by Sony. This one is made by Samsung. Still, we have AI, face detection autofocus, full HD 60 frames per second video capture, and a combination of 4 pixels into 1 for extra brightness. For selfies, we have a 13 megapixel camera, sans autofocus. Now let's see the gallery. Obviously, we took a lot of shots, and boy, was it a sunny day. It was early August, a torrid day, and one thing to remember here is that this phone, when it does the odd and random overexposure, very rare, it does that better than the Huawei P30 Lite. So less overexposure than Huawei P30 Lite, and I would say even less than Motorola One Vision. The photos aren't half bad, I'll be the first to admit it, even though the phone takes a bit to get a proper bokeh, that's for sure. Pretty nice colors, although sometimes I have a feeling they're actually too nice. Usually the sky on a torrid day is much more, well, I would say saturated than this one. One would think that it's actually handling it okay. I feel it's a bit over-processed. I'm getting the same vibes I got with the Samsung Galaxy A5 2017, if you remember that one. Anyways, I'm happy with the colors and the clarity and all that, but I have the feeling of over-processed. Not exactly happy with the selfies. The face looks like a doll, not very natural. And those are the first impressions in the first part of the gallery. In the second part, where the sun was actually placed properly in front of me, things were a bit better. The delimitation of the bokeh is, I would say, decent for the price tag, but every once in a while it may miss an ear or headphone. And the blur feels a bit fake. And here we have a prime example of HDR, regular shot. You cannot see there is a building here, but with the HDR, you can actually see the block of flats here. Once again, this is where the block should be. You cannot see it. And then with HDR, you can. So in the end, you are going to have to remember this. when you're taking shots with this phone and when you're taking shots with the Xiaomi Mi A3, you will not be able to tell the differences if you're posting them on social media and viewing them on a phone. So differences are minimal, but for the trained eye, there's about a 10% plus for the Xiaomi Mi A3. By the way, the zoom isn't half bad, as you can see here. Also, not bad colors and very nice close-ups, that's what I noticed. And the blues were probably the best rendered colors. My feelings are mixed about the sky and the vegetation, which feel a bit overprocessed, but it may just be purely good capture. Okay, even more shots here. I told you before, we have a lot of them. I'm going to keep this short and say that yes, it can fight Samsung Galaxy A50, Motorola One Vision, Huawei P30 Lite. It oversaturates much less than the Huawei P30 Lite and also the Motorola One Vision. And if it had a wide-angle camera, it could actually be one of the winners of the year 2019. Flower close-ups are spot on, and for a phone with a 48 megapixel Samsung camera, well, consider me sold at this price tag. And those are the good selfies. I told you before, there is a batch of bad ones and a batch of good ones. In the end, a very solid rival for the Samsung Galaxy A 2019 series phones. Now let's see the low light picture, and I don't know if you believe me or not, but they're actually good. To be honest, my only drawback for these pictures is the fact that they're a bit dark, and that's about it. And the, well, I would say occasional gray hue, gray-green hue, but other than that, color me impressed. I'm talking about the clarity, I'm talking about especially the colors. Some of our shots had flags in them, and the flags kept their colors. Nice clarity, nice street lighting without deformation, and I'm blown away by the fact that it manages to catch the sources of light in a proper manner. So this is one of the best mid-range phones when it comes to low light. It can share a medal or a podium with the Motorola One Vision and the Xiaomi Mi A3. Definitely beats the Galaxy A50, A40 and the Huawei P30 Lite. Now let's see how we're doing in the video department. Okay, so let's see the videos. Luckily the gallery has them separated from the other clips, so let's keep things short. We have this video here, which to be honest had quite a bit of grain. So we shot these clips in full HD, MP4, 30 or 60 frames per second, and the bitrate was 20 megabytes. So I would have to say that the vegetation feels a bit oversaturated. The sky fluctuates between a regular saturation and a bit of oversaturation. The zoom is rather poor. Okay microphone even during the wind, and I would say average even for a mid-range phone. So a bit of grain in the distance. The colors are a bit of a mixed bag. This one is with subject in motion, actually not half bad. If you're filming stuff in motion at 60 frames per second, you'll be, I would say, reasonably impressed. But every once in a while, when I was panning, I noticed a bit of motion blur. And of course, things are a bit shaky and the sky remains white 1 or 2 times. Finally, some colors. These are toys inside a park where children play. And here I will be panning. And you cannot see it on the small screen, but on my PC screen I noticed some motion blur, especially if you're panning fast. The clarity is decent for Full HD and mid-range. The sky is totally white here at the top, and it just cleared up when I pointed the camera at it. Still shaky. And speaking of shakiness, I actually went ahead and tested the stabilization, obviously electronic or digital or however you want to call it. Not bad, to be honest, not bad. If on the Motorola One Vision I was underwhelmed by the optical image stabilization, here I'm overwhelmed by the digital one. Obviously shaky exposure between lighter and stronger, but no flakiness and no shakiness of the image. That's not bad at all. And less burn than the Huawei P30 Lite. So overall not bad for a mid-range phone, but also not very memorable. I would say that there's too much grain for me, and also a bit of motion blur. It can fight the Galaxy A40 and the Huawei P30 Lite, but not the Galaxy A50. That one films a bit better. We also have a selfie video, which is actually not bad. I feel it's a bit too bright for my taste, but in the end, a starting vlogger could make something out of it. Excuse the frown, it was a lot of sun in front of me. Okay, so definitely a Galaxy A40 rival, maybe Huawei P30 rival as well, and the low light capture, well, once you go below $250, you cannot expect much, and this is clearly shown here. Shaky, blurry, flickery, the colors are somehow okay. There are some reflections, and definitely not something to show after a touristic trip. Okay, so that's about it. I would say it's on par in the filming department with the Galaxy A40 and the Huawei P30 Lite, and the camera overall is a bit of a surprise when it comes to photos taken at night. Now let's talk connectivity. Now, as far as connectivity is concerned, we're dealing here with a dual SIM handset that's got an USB Type-C port at the bottom, and also it's got 4G LTE and Wi-Fi A, B, G, and AC. Of course, we have Bluetooth 5.0 in the mix here, and we also have Wi-Fi Direct and Wi-Fi display. Let's load up gsmdome.com. Here we go. GSM Dome loading up. So as I said before, Bluetooth 5.0, Wi-Fi Direct, Wi-Fi display, and an infrared emitter should be here at the top side next to the audio jack, letting you control your TV set, set-top box, and so forth. There's GPS, GLONASS, and Beidou for the orientation on map and global localizing. So we also have calls which were loud and clear, so this earpiece here checks out. And we also did a bunch of tests. These are the tests that we did, the speed test, and on 4G we got as high as 21.1 megapixel download, 66.6 megapixel in upload. I've seen better on download, but the conditions may vary depending on the network. On Wi-Fi we did much better, 217 megapixel downloads and 22.6 megapixel uploads. I would say good Wi-Fi, and 4G I have mixed feelings, but once again depends on the network, not the phone. As far as the software is concerned, I feel like I've seen this before. It's Android Pie with MIUI 10.3.6. But once again, there's no app drawer here, and you cannot even activate one, so there's that. Also, it's a simple and clean interface. Xiaomi seems to like the rectangles a lot, and you can see a rectangle here for the brightness slider, and you can also see one here with curved edges once you play with the volume. Other than that, simple and clean interface. We've got this area here that aggregates useful tools and shortcuts, and if you pinch the screen, you should be able to trigger stuff like wallpaper, widgets, and settings. The widgets are pretty straightforward, lots of white, lots of transparency, pretty much like what you've seen on Samsung's One UI and other interfaces out there. Minimalistic icons, the bare minimum actually, as you can see here with the iconography. Swipe down and you're being treated to a very well spaced, clean design, quick settings and notifications, so that's something to notice. Very well organized and feeling a bit, I would say, even medical with all of this white and gray here. If you want to do multitasking, you can see this area here. All the windows are placed in a vertical scrolling area. You have a cleaner, security scan, deep clean, and you can also do a split screen by dragging one of the apps here at the top and then choosing one for the other side. Of course, if it supports the split screen. Okay, let's go back there and fix this. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, so that's more like it. Anyways, that's the multitasking in a nutshell. You can see all the windows here, and then we proceed further. You saw me throughout the review tapping the back of the phone. That's where the security scanner is, the fingerprint scanner, and I would say it's pretty fast. Not bad at all. Other than that, there are many settings to check out here. Actually, too many of them. It needs a quick reorganizing like Huawei and Samsung did. So the connectivity options, the display, wallpaper, themes, lock screen and password, notifications, full screen display, second space, emergency SOS, dual apps, system app settings, and additional stuff like one hand UI, quick ball, notification light, which by the way, notification light is somewhere here in the chin. And as far as the pre-installed apps go, there's about 30 of them. You got a Mi Remote, which you can use to control your TV set. You got Google Lens, you got Notes, note-taking app, a cleaner, Mi Video, and a bunch of tools here, including a screen recorder, good for gamers. Now that's about it. This marks the end of our review of the Xiaomi Redmi Note 7. Now it's time for the pros and cons. On the pros, a pretty solid build. I would say it's an okay experience when it comes to movie watching on this screen. It runs most games. It runs PUBG and Asphalt 9 without a problem. It's got a pretty solid battery and a pretty decent speaker, actually, with a powerful volume in games. It takes some okay selfies, and I love the low light pictures taken by this dual camera. Daytime pictures also quite fine. Electronic stabilization was surprisingly good in videos, and the infrared emitter is always a plus. Now those were the pros. Now let's see the cons. I would say that the design is rather generic. The brightness of the screen should have been a bit better. and also the battery is a few hours below the Xiaomi Mi A3. I thought that's important to mention for some reason. And I also think that it takes a while to take a proper bokeh using the camera at the back, and also some of the shots feel over processed, the daytime ones. The low light capturing video was underwhelming, and the videos are below the Samsung Galaxy A50 if you're really nitpicky. Otherwise, there should be enough. And the fact there is no app drawer and no way to activate one may bother some people, but there are custom ROMs out there. So in the end, that's it. For a little bit below $200, you're getting here a package that's, let's put it this way, very close to the Xiaomi Mi A3 while also offering a full HD screen resolution. The pictures you're going to post on social media are going to look exactly the same like the Xiaomi Mi A3. You're going to be losing about 3 or 4 hours of battery life, you're gaining extra resolution, and at the same time, well, the design is a bit more generic, not as impressive and sexy as the Mi A3. In the end, for me, this feels like the phone to listen music to and do some gaming, take some pictures during the night time, so maybe a music lover's phone, concert goer's phone, who knows. So nighttime pictures, battery life, gaming and music, those are the core aspects of this phone. For below $200, even $150, it's a pretty solid deal, and the best of the package is the low light photo taking. This has been the review of the Xiaomi Redmi Note 7 here at gsnhome.com. Bye bye.